Welcome to Zoe Stories. Forced to attend school in high heels. I never thought a single morning could change my life forever. The sunlight filtered through the blinds, casting thin stripes across my bedroom floor. I sat on the edge of my bed, hands clasped tightly, heart hammering like a drum. I couldn't stop. Today was supposed to be just another ordinary school day, but somehow it had spiraled into chaos before the alarm had even fully buzzed. It had started with a message from her, Laura, my older sister's best friend, the kind of girl who walked into a room and made it hers instantly. Confident, teasing, dangerous in a way that both thrilled and terrified me. She'd come over last night to help me with a favor, but the moment I opened the door, she'd throw me off balance with that mischievous grin of hers. "I think you need a little change," she had said, circling me like a predator admiring her prey. Her tone wasn't threatening, exactly, not yet, but it carried a kind of certainty that made me doubt my own. "What do you mean?" I'd asked, trying to sound casual, though the tightness in my chest betrayed me. She pulled out a pair of black stiletto heels from a shopping bag, the leather gleaming under the room's dim light. Then she revealed a folded schoolgirl uniform, complete with a pleated skirt, blouse, and tiny bow. My stomach churned. "You're going to wear this to school tomorrow," she said simply, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. I laughed nervously. "You're joking. There's no way." "No joke," she interrupted, stepping closer. Her eyes locked on mine, and suddenly I felt small, insignificant, utterly powerless. "If you don't, I'll make sure everyone sees you anyway, and trust me, it won't be pretty." I swallowed hard. My mind spun. A dare? A joke? I couldn't tell anymore. But the glint in her eyes was unwavering. It was a challenge I couldn't refuse, or at least, I didn't dare. The night dragged on with me lying awake, staring at the ceiling. The heels rested on my desk like some cruel sentinel, the skirt folded neatly beside them. My reflection in the mirror caught me unguarded. Who was this person staring back? The boy I'd been all my life, or someone else entirely? When morning came, I found myself standing barefoot in front of my closet, trembling. My hands hovered over the skirt and blouse as if touching them would make them burn. My heart beat painfully, loud enough to echo in my ears. I could hear Laura humming in the kitchen downstairs, her presence a constant, oppressive shadow. Finally, I slipped into the blouse, then the skirt. The fabric felt alien against my skin, soft and intimate in a way that made my cheeks flush. Knees weak, I bent to try the heels. I wobbled immediately. Each step was a struggle. My legs screamed with unfamiliar strain, and my balance betrayed me at every turn. "Careful," Lara's voice said from the doorway. I nearly jumped out of my skin. She stood there, arms crossed, her grin both approving and mocking. "You walk like a newborn deer, but I'll give you this, you're trying." I hated her, and yet, I didn't. That tiny spark of something else, thrill, embarrassment, curiosity, flickered in my chest and refused to die. The clock ticked, loud and relentless. Soon I would have to leave the house like this. And the thought of stepping into the public world, of walking through school in heels and a skirt, made bile rise in my throat. Stepping out the front door, I felt the cool morning air against my skin. Each step in the heels was a sharp reminder of my new reality. People were already beginning to notice. Neighbors waved politely, a few whispered to each other, and some older kids from the block laughed, the sound slicing through me like knives. "Relax," Laura said softly from behind me. "Just walk like you own it. If you wobble, that's fine. Confidence is everything." I wanted to argue. I wanted to run back inside, strip off the skirt, throw the heels in the garbage, and pretend none of this had ever happened. But my feet moved forward. One step, then another. Each stumble made my cheeks burn hotter, but I refused to look down. The bus stop loomed ahead. Teenagers milled about, chatting loudly, oblivious to the small but world-altering drama unfolding in front of them. I froze. Their laughter and sideways glances felt like arrows. My throat tightened, and I could feel Lara's gaze drilling into my back. She wasn't just watching, she was controlling. "You're mine today," she whispered, just loud enough for me to hear. And with that, the world shifted. Every glance, every giggle, every step I took was a test. I realized, somewhere deep inside, that this was just the beginning. My life as I knew it was over, and a new, terrifying, exhilarating chapter had begun. As the bus pulled up, I heard someone from my class whisper behind me, "Is that him?" My stomach dropped. The entire school was about to see me like this, and there was no turning back. Every step felt like walking on knives, yet I couldn't look away from her eyes. The bus doors hissed open, and I forced myself to climb aboard, heels clicking sharply against the metal steps. Every eye seemed to find me the moment I stepped in. Whispers began almost immediately, low murmurs, indistinct at first, but growing louder as more students noticed. I gripped the railing tightly, feeling sweat trickle down my back. My knees trembled like thin saplings in the wind. "Relax," Lara's voice echoed in my memory. But I couldn't. Each glance was a reminder of how exposed I was. My skirt swayed slightly with every unsteady step, and I felt my cheeks heat up to an uncomfortable pink. A group of boys at the back snickered. "Is that him?" One whispered loudly enough for me to hear. My stomach twisted into knots. The voice was familiar. Someone recognized me. I wanted to disappear, curl into myself. But I couldn't. I had no choice but to walk to the only empty seat near the front, each movement deliberate, each step a battle against my own body. My heels, unyielding and sharp, dug painfully into my arches, yet I refused to stumble. Once seated, I realized just how aware everyone was. Conversations faltered mid-sentence as I passed, eyes darting, some curious, some mocking. I caught snippets. "Is that a joke? He looks so different. Wow. Those heels." I wanted to sink through the floor. I could feel my heart hammering against my ribcage. My hands twisted in my lap, fingernails pressing into my palms, a small, silent panic spreading through me. Lara had said nothing since leaving me at the bus stop. Her absence was almost worse than her presence. I felt as if invisible strings were pulling me, making me walk, making me maintain this impossible performance. By the time the bus arrived at school, I felt like I had aged 10 years. Exiting the bus was another trial. Each step down the metal stairs required immense concentration. The heels threatened to betray me with every movement. Students on the sidewalk turned to stare. Some laughed quietly, some whispered, and some, I could swear, some were genuinely impressed. I could feel the weight of every gaze pressing down on me. Every step was a test of composure, of identity, of control. I wanted to run, but even the thought felt impossible. Once inside the school, it became worse. The hallways were a gauntlet. Groups of students paused mid-conversation, staring, whispering. I passed a group of boys leaning against lockers. One smirked, clearly recognizing me. "Hey, new transfer," he said mockingly. My chest tightened. I stammered, my voice catching in my throat. Every word I tried to form sounded high-pitched, unnatural. My voice trembled along with my legs, betraying my inner turmoil. A group of girls nearby giggled, some nudging each other, some whispering compliments that made my face burn hotter than embarrassment alone could account for. "She looks really pretty," one said. "I mean, wow, her skirt is perfect." The compliments were like knives wrapped in silk. Part of me wanted to fight them, scream that I wasn't a girl. But another part, the part one couldn't ignore, felt a strange surge of something like pride. My reflection in every shiny locker, every mirror-like surface, confirmed it. I did look different. Beautiful. Fragile. Trembling, yes, but undeniably pretty. The first class was torture. Walking to the classroom, I felt every pair of eyes tracking me. My backpack pressed against my back uncomfortably, as if reminding me I was still me underneath all of this, yet the skirt and heels screamed otherwise. I tried to sit gracefully, heels pressed together, back straight, hands folded like Lara had instructed. I nearly toppled over once, but caught myself, cheeks flaming. "Are you okay?" a voice whispered. One of the girls from class leaned close. Her tone was soft, curious, not mocking. I wanted to melt into the desk. Yeah, fine, I whispered, barely audible. Inside, my mind was a storm. Every step, every glance, every whisper was a test of endurance. I could feel Lara's influence everywhere, even in her absence. Her control wasn't just physical, it was psychological, inescapable. Lunchtime was worse. Cafeteria tables buzzed with conversation. I sat alone at first, heels digging into the linoleum floor, skirt brushing my knees. Every glance felt like exposure, every laugh a potential catastrophe. Yet, as I unwrapped my sandwich, I felt a subtle, intoxicating shift. A boy approached, someone new, someone kind in his gaze, seemingly unaware of my identity. You, like my backpack? He asked with a friendly smile. I froze. Was this a test? A trap? I opened my mouth to answer, voice higher and tremulous. Why, yeah, thanks. The way he smiled, casual and non-judgmental, sent a strange warmth through me. A fleeting moment where I almost forgot the humiliation, almost allowed myself to exist in this new persona without shame. But no relief lasts. Across the cafeteria, I caught Lara's reflection in a window. Her eyes met mine, and a small, cruel smirk danced on her lips. She had watched my every move. She knew when I wobbled, when I faltered, when I felt embarrassed, and somehow that made every step heavier, every smile forced, every glance terrifying. I'm not just dressing you up, I imagined her voice whispering inside my head. I'm remaking you. Completely. The words, imagined or real, lodged themselves in my chest. And I realized I had no idea how far this would go, no clue how much of myself I would lose or gain by the end. As the bell rang, signaling the next class, I felt a tap on my shoulder. I turned slowly and froze. It was someone from my past, someone who had known me before all of this. Their eyes widened in shock. Is that you? My heart stopped. In that moment, I knew school would never be the same again, and neither would I. I thought the school doors would protect me. I was wrong. The hallways stretched out like a gauntlet. Lockers slammed, sneakers squeaked, and the chatter of dozens of teenagers washed over me like a relentless tide. I gripped my bag tightly, heels clicking sharply against the tile floor, each step louder than the last. Every whisper, every laugh, every sideways glance felt like it was aimed directly at me. I had survived the bus, the sidewalks, the cafeteria, but nothing could have prepared me for the full gaze of my peers. As I walked toward my first class, a group of boys leaned against the lockers, smirking. One of them nudged his friend, nodding toward me. Dude, is that him? My stomach dropped. I froze for a heartbeat too long, feeling the heat of 100 eyes drilling into me. My legs shook. I forced myself to take a shaky step forward, heels wobbling dangerously. You look different, the boy added, loud enough for a few other students to hear. Some laughed, some gasped, some whispered to each other. I wanted to disappear into the floor, vanish completely. Then she appeared, Lara, impossibly calm, walking behind me as if she were the queen and I her obedient subject. Her heels clicked in perfect sync with mine, an eerie echo that made my nerves fray. You're doing fine, she whispered softly, just loud enough for me to hear. Her voice was both soothing and commanding, like silk over steel. Just keep walking. Look straight ahead. Smile if you have to. I forced my lips into a shaky, unnatural smile. The hallways felt impossibly long. Every locker I passed seemed to judge me. Every group of students seemed ready to pounce. A group of girls whispered among themselves, clearly pointing at me. One of them tilted her head and whispered, "She's pretty, really pretty." The compliment should have comforted me, but instead it burned me with shame. My cheeks flushed crimson, and I bit my lip so hard it hurt. How could something so simple, so innocuous, feel so humiliating? By the time I reached my classroom, I was shaking. My bag slipped from my grasp slightly, forcing me to bend awkwardly to catch it. The motion drew a few stifled laughs. Careful, Lara murmured behind me, and I felt an electric thrill of fear and excitement. Her control over me was total. Even when she wasn't touching me, She commanded my every move. Inside the classroom, I tried to find a seat near the back. I wanted to avoid attention, but every chair I approached seemed to amplify my presence. Finally, I sank into a seat, heels pressed together, back stiff, hands folded neatly in my lap like a good little girl. The teacher, oblivious to my inner turmoil, began the lesson. I tried to focus, but my mind kept returning to the reactions outside. The whispers, the gasps, the subtle admiration, and the unmistakable shock on some of my old classmates' faces. Lunchtime was the worst. I sat alone at the edge of the cafeteria, skirt brushing my knees, heels digging into the floor. Every glance felt like it pierced through me. But then he appeared. A boy from another class, someone I had never spoken to, sat down across from me. "Hey, cool shoes," he said casually. His eyes didn't mock, didn't judge. For a moment, I almost believed in normalcy again. I nodded, voice quivering slightly. "Thanks, I guess." Something in his tone made my chest tighten, not with fear, but with a strange, confusing warmth. Could I exist like this without embarrassment? Could someone see me as me, even like this? But relief was fleeting. Across the room, I caught Lara's reflection in a window. Her eyes were sharp, calculating, and her smile, so small, so cruel, was enough to freeze my blood. She had been watching, orchestrating, and manipulating every single step. I wanted to scream, to break free, to pull the heels from my feet and run. But I couldn't. Her presence was an invisible leash, holding me in place, forcing me to act, forcing me to perform. As the lunch bell rang, signaling the next class, I stood slowly, trying to maintain composure. My legs wobbled slightly. My balance betrayed me. And then I heard it. A voice, familiar, unmistakable, slicing through the cafeteria noise. "Is that you?" I froze. My heart stopped. Recognition. From someone who knew the boy I had been, the life I had led before this nightmare began. My stomach twisted violently. My world, already unstable, threatened to shatter completely. I wanted to disappear. I wanted to vanish into nothing. But my heels, my skirt, my trembling hands, everything screamed that there was no turning back. The person approached, eyes wide with shock, and I realized that my secret was on the verge of being exposed. And with Laura standing nearby, smiling that infuriating, controlling smile, I understood one horrifying truth. This transformation wasn't just about the clothes or the heels. It was about erasing the boy I had been, step by agonizing step. Every brush stroke erased a little more of who I was. The afternoon sunlight spilled through the bedroom window, dust motes floating lazily in the air. I sat on the edge of Lara's oversized bed, skirt riding slightly higher than it should, heels kicked off, and my hands shaking as they hovered over the array of beauty products she had laid out. Lipsticks, eyeshadows, blushes, foundation, mascara, every item felt like a tiny instrument of torture. Laura stood behind me, her gaze sharp and meticulous. "Relax," she said, though there was no actual comfort in her tone. "Makeup isn't just colors, it's power. And today, I'm teaching you to wield it." I swallowed hard. The idea of applying makeup was terrifying. I wasn't just uncomfortable with the colors, the textures, or the foreign sensation of brushes against my skin. I was uncomfortable with the concept itself. This wasn't just cosmetic. It was symbolic. Each brush stroke was stripping away the boy I had been, replacing him with someone else. Laura guided my trembling hands first to the foundation. "Smooth it evenly," she instructed, her voice deceptively gentle. "Blend it. Don't miss a spot." I obeyed, feeling the strange, almost suffocating texture on my skin. My reflection in the mirror made me flinch. The face looking back was familiar, yet alien, softer, smoother, framed by long locks Laura had insisted I wear in a subtle wave. My eyes darted nervously. Who was this person? The boy I had been was fading behind a layer of powder and blush, leaving someone fragile, exposed, undeniably feminine. Next came the eyes. Lash curlers, mascara, eyeliner. I had never imagined eyelashes could feel so heavy, so alien. Every blink reminded me that I was being reshaped, publicly, painfully, irrevocably. Laura leaned close, her breath warm against my ear. "Pretty," she whispered, and I felt heat spread from my cheeks to the tips of my ears. The word, so small, so simple, should have embarrassed me further, but instead, it lodged in my chest, a strange, dangerous thrill. My lips were next, soft, glossy, impossibly red. I applied the lipstick with a trembling hand, smudging slightly, which made Laura tut softly. "Careful," she said, adjusting my grip. "Precision is everything. One wrong move, and the illusion collapses." I wanted to scream. I wanted to erase every trace of this process. But every flick of the brush, every swipe of color, every precise line was cementing my transformation. And somewhere deep inside, I knew I couldn't stop now. Then came the lingerie. Laura had chosen delicate lace and silk pieces, the kind I had never imagined touching my skin. As I slipped into the soft, constricting fabrics, I felt a strange mixture of embarrassment, shame, and an unfamiliar spark of excitement. My body, so accustomed to denial, now betrayed me. Every brush of silk across my skin sent shivers down my spine. "You feel different," Laura murmured, circling me. "Look in the mirror. That's the real you now. The boy isn't here anymore, not really." I wanted to deny her. I wanted to cling to the boy I had been, the safe version of myself. But when I looked into the mirror, I barely recognized the person staring back. Wide eyes rimmed with dark eyeliner, soft lips glistening with gloss, and delicate curves softened beneath the fabric. It was me, and yet it wasn't. The real torment, though, wasn't physical, it was psychological. Every glance in the mirror, every adjustment of hair or skirt, every brush of makeup reminded me that my identity was slipping, eroding beneath the surface. I wasn't just putting on makeup or wearing heels or a skirt. I was learning to inhabit a new persona, one I hadn't asked for, one I wasn't sure I wanted, and one that thrilled and terrified me in equal measure. Laura sat beside me, watching intently. "You look beautiful," she said softly. The word hit me like a bolt. Beautiful? Me? The boy I had been couldn't even comprehend the sensation. Part of me wanted to run, to escape, to tear everything off. But another part, the part one had barely acknowledged, wanted to linger, wanted to savor it, wanted to be seen like this. We ventured outside for a brief test in public, a short walk to the corner store. Each step in the heels felt sharper than the last, the skirt brushing my thighs, makeup catching the sunlight. People turned, whispered. Some stared openly. My stomach churned, my cheeks burned, yet I walked. I walked. A group of teenage boys passed us, laughter following in their wake. "Hey, nice outfit," one called, smirking. My first instinct was to shrink, to cover, to retreat. But Lara's hand on my shoulder steadied me. "Own it," she said simply. "They don't matter. You look like this now. You're the girl they see." And with those words, something inside shifted. A small, terrifying part of me wanted to believe her, wanted to step into this new role fully. Back at home, I collapsed onto the bed, exhausted, trembling, heart racing. My reflection in the full-length mirror caught my eye. The girl staring back at me was delicate, soft, undeniably feminine. I barely recognized the boy I had been just days ago. Tears welled up, a mixture of frustration, shame, and something else, something darkly thrilling. The transformation was no longer just physical. It was emotional, psychological, inescapable. And I had only just begun. Laura leaned in close, a sly smile playing on her lips. "Tomorrow," she whispered, "we go further. Public school. High heels. Everyone watching. No excuses. Are you ready for that?" I wanted to say no, but my voice caught in my throat. The thought of facing the school in this new persona both terrified and terrifiedly excited me. And I realized, somewhere deep inside, that my life had already changed forever. I realized I couldn't just pretend to be normal anymore. The school hallways felt like a battlefield. Each step in my heels echoed against the tiles, announcing my presence to everyone within earshot. Whispers followed me, like a shadow I could never shake. Every glance felt loaded, some curious, some mocking, and some admiring. I had walked in before, yes. I had survived the cafeteria, the classes, the initial stares. But today was different. Today, Laura had a plan, a test. "You're losing your old life," she had whispered the night before, her fingers brushing my cheek in a disturbingly tender way. Every privilege you had as a boy gone. Every inch of space, every voice, every glance, they belong to her now. To you, if you dare accept it. I didn't want to accept it. I wanted to fight, to reclaim the boy I had been. But the mirror in my bedroom, reflecting my softened curves and glossy lips, whispered otherwise. I had walked past it countless times, always dismissive, always confident as a boy. But now, the doors loomed like walls of judgment. A group of guys leaned against the lockers, sneering, a casual challenge in their eyes. "Not today," I murmured to myself, clutching my books tightly. One boy stepped forward. "You're not going in there, are you? You're, you know." His smirk made my stomach twist. I swallowed, unsure. Could I defend myself? Could I insist on my old privileges? My heels clicked as I took a step backward, but then Laura appeared beside me, impossibly calm and devastatingly commanding. "Locker room isn't yours anymore," she said softly. The tone was gentle, almost soothing, but the words were steel. "You are a girl now. Accept it." My chest tightened. Her hand brushed mine as she guided me away. Every muscle in my body resisted, but the message was clear. My male identity had no place here anymore. Underscore 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 underscore. Next came sports class. I had always excelled at basketball, a familiar realm where I felt confident. But now, standing in heels, skirt swaying, I realized I couldn't even dribble without stumbling. Laughter erupted from the boys nearby, and I felt my face burn hotter than any physical exertion could account for. "Focus on balance, not performance," Laura whispered. Her proximity was suffocating, yet I couldn't deny a small thrill at her presence. I had no male privileges here. My skills, my authority, my body, none of it mattered. Only the girl she was shaping me into did. During a group activity, the boys who had once treated me as an equal now treated me as different. They whispered, nudged each other, and some even laughed outright. I tried to defend myself, to assert that I was still the same person inside, but the words sounded weak, high-pitched, fragile. My male authority had evaporated completely. Across the room, Laura watched. Her eyes glimmered with satisfaction, a mix of approval and amusement. I realized then that my embarrassment gave her power. Every blush, every hesitation, every faltering step fed her control. The emotional layers were unbearable. I hated the way my cheeks flushed when someone complimented my appearance. I hated the warmth that spread through my chest when a boy whispered, "You look really pretty." I hated the way my legs trembled from the heels and how my hands shook as I adjusted my skirt repeatedly. And yet, I couldn't stop. Something inside me whispered that this humiliation, this exposure, this new attention, was intoxicating. By the end of the day, I was a mess. My knees ached, my feet were raw, my throat dry from biting back apologies or explanations. I had lost every familiar privilege. The locker room, the basketball court, the casual authority I had carried as a boy. Even the simplest gestures, the smallest freedoms, were stripped away. But Laura was there, calm and patient as always. Her hand rested on my shoulder, a grounding force I simultaneously despised and craved. "Good," she murmured. "You survived today. You're learning." I wanted to argue. I wanted to scream that I was still me. But the reflection in the hallway mirror reminded me otherwise. The boy I had been was gone, at least for now. As I trudged home, exhausted and humiliated, a familiar voice called out from behind me. My old best friend, someone who had known me for years, stopped in his tracks. His eyes widened, recognition dawning. "Wait, is that really you?" My heart lurched. Everything I had endured, the heels, the skirt, the makeup, the humiliation, was about to be confronted. And I realized, with a shiver of dread and something darker, that my secret life as a girl was no longer safe from discovery. He didn't know the truth, and that made everything more dangerous. The afternoon sun slanted through the classroom windows, casting warm stripes across the desks. I sat there, knees pressed together tightly in my skirt, heels digging slightly into the floor. My notebook was open, but my thoughts were elsewhere, trapped in the spiral of confusion and shame that had become my daily life. Then, unexpectedly, he appeared. Ethan, a boy from another class, someone I'd never spoken to, yet somehow he had noticed me. He slid into the empty seat next to mine, backpack casually thrown over one shoulder. "Hey," he said, a soft, friendly smile on his face. "You're new here, right?" I froze. New? That was one word for what I was experiencing, though I wasn't new in the sense he thought. The truth, the horrifying secret of what I was wearing and why, pressed against my chest like a vice. Yeah, I murmured, voice higher than intended, betraying my internal panic. Ethan didn't flinch. He didn't stare, didn't whisper, didn't laugh. He simply smiled. That simple, genuine kindness made my chest ache in a way that embarrassed me more than any ridicule ever had. Over the next few hours, a strange bond began to form. During group work, Ethan leaned slightly closer, asking questions, joking softly, and making me laugh, a light, airy sound that almost made me forget the tightness in my chest, the ache in my feet, the fear of being exposed. For the first time in days, I allowed myself a moment of normalcy, a fleeting sense that I could exist outside Lara's control. I wasn't a boy, not fully, but I wasn't just a girl in heels and makeup either. I was something in between, something undefined, and Ethan treated me as that ambiguous person. But normalcy was fragile. Lara arrived unexpectedly during a hallway break. She leaned against the doorway, arms crossed, observing silently. Her eyes glimmered with amusement as she watched me laugh with Ethan. "You're bonding," she murmured under her breath, as if she could read my every thought. "Good, but don't forget who you belong to." Her presence was suffocating. It reminded me that no matter how kind Ethan was, no matter how genuine the moments of connection felt, I was under her control, reshaped at her whim. And part of me, a dark, stubborn part, resisted. I didn't want to feel gratitude toward her. I didn't want to feel compliance. The day continued with subtle tests. Lara forced me to walk through the hallways in front of the entire school, heels clicking sharply, skirts swaying perfectly. Students whispered, laughed, stared, and I felt the familiar mix of humiliation and something darker. Thrill, excitement, arousal, shame all tangled together. Ethan, surprisingly, didn't flinch. He even offered a quiet, encouraging smile as we passed a group of giggling girls. My chest tightened. Did he like this version of me? Could he see past the heels, the skirt, the makeup? Could he see me, the fractured self beneath the surface? That evening, Lara cornered me in her room. The air was thick with tension. "You're growing attached," she said, voice soft but laced with steel. "That's dangerous. Boys like him can't know everything. They can't see the truth, or it could ruin the control I've built over you." I swallowed hard. Her control was absolute, yet her words made my chest ache with something else, a flicker of defiance. I wanted to scream that I was still me, that I wasn't just a puppet. Yet, beneath that defiance, a small, forbidden part of me wanted her dominance, wanted her guidance, wanted to submit, even as I hated it. That night, staring at myself in the mirror once again, I felt the growing fracture inside me. My face, soft and glossy from the day's makeup, seemed to belong to someone else. My body, reshaped by heels, skirt, and posture, felt alien. And yet, The warmth I felt when Ethan smiled at me lingered. I realized with a jolt, I was falling into two conflicting worlds at once. One, dictated by Laura, where I had no control and every step, every glance, every whisper was orchestrated. The other, small and fragile, where I could exist as myself, or as close to myself as this new reality allowed, with someone who didn't judge, who didn't mock, who simply saw me. As I sank onto the bed, exhausted and trembling, my phone buzzed. A message from Laura. Tomorrow we go even further. He won't see the new you coming. Be ready. My stomach twisted. What did she mean? What could be worse than today? And as I looked in the mirror at the girls staring back, I wondered, how much of me would be left after tomorrow? Every pair of eyes in the crowd felt like they were peeling me apart. The sun had just begun its descent, casting long shadows across the bustling shopping district. I walked beside Laura, heels clicking sharply against the concrete, skirt swaying with each precarious step. My heart hammered in my chest. Each glance from passers-by, each whispered conversation, made me want to vanish entirely. Relax, Laura said, her voice deceptively soft. It's just people. They'll look, they'll whisper, and you'll survive. Or you'll learn to enjoy it. The words made me flinch. Enjoy it? The thought was horrifying. Yet, as I took another step, a small, inexplicable thrill flickered through me. We entered the mall, a hive of activity. Teens, parents, shoppers, all going about their lives, paused when they saw us. I felt their eyes like physical pressure on my shoulders, my back, my chest. A group of teenage boys leaned against a storefront. One nudged the other. Wow, check out her outfit. My stomach twisted. I wanted to hide, to shrink into myself, to erase every trace of my presence. But Lara's hand on my shoulder held me steady. Keep walking, she whispered. Remember, this is your world now. I stumbled slightly in my heels, the straps pressing painfully against my arches. Someone gasped audibly. My face burned. A small, high-pitched laugh escaped me, betraying my embarrassment. We paused by a cosmetics kiosk, and Laura leaned close. Time for a quick adjustment, she said. She produced a compact mirror and some powder, guiding my shaky hands to apply it perfectly. Every stroke, every dab, every adjustment drew the eyes of nearby shoppers. I felt utterly exposed. Beautiful, Laura murmured again. The word, soft yet deliberate, made my chest ache in a way I couldn't control. A woman nearby smiled politely, complimenting my makeup. I wanted to protest, to insist I wasn't a girl, that I wasn't this. But the voice in my head, the one that Laura had subtly awakened, hesitated. Part of me craved the praise, craved the recognition, craved the temporary escape from my old self. Then it happened. A group of boys from school spotted me. Their laughter was loud, cutting through the mall's ambient noise. Is that really him? One yelled, pointing. Another added, no way, she's wow. I froze. My legs trembled in my heels. My hands clenched into fists at my sides, then loosened as a wave of helplessness washed over me. I couldn't escape. Every eye felt like a magnifying glass, every whisper like a spotlight highlighting my transformation. Laura stepped forward, her presence a shield and a challenge. She guided me gently yet firmly, ensuring I walked past the group with perfect posture, heels aligned, skirts swaying gracefully. My face burned hotter than any embarrassment I had ever felt. Yet, somewhere deep inside, a part of me, terrifyingly small and fragile, thrived on it. We moved through the mall like performers on a stage. Children stared, parents glanced, and a few teenagers whispered audibly. Each moment reinforced the truth I couldn't deny. The boy I had been was gone, replaced by the girl I was learning to be. A reflective surface, a glossy storefront window, caught my eye. I looked at myself. The girl in the reflection had wide, expressive eyes rimmed with eyeliner, soft lips glossed with red, delicate curves emphasized by the skirt and heels. I barely recognized myself. My reflection smiled faintly, teasing me. Was it me, or someone else entirely? The humiliation didn't end there. A boy from my past, someone who had known me as a boy, suddenly appeared in the crowd. His eyes widened in disbelief. "Wait, is that you?" I froze. Panic surged. My heart raced. Could he see me like this? Could anyone? Lara's hand tightened slightly on my elbow. "Ignore him," she whispered, voice cold with control. "You are hers now. Don't falter." I walked past him, every step deliberate, every breath shallow. My chest ached with fear, and something else, something I wasn't ready to name. The humiliation was total, the exposure complete, and yet, somewhere deep inside, I felt alive in a way I couldn't have predicted. By the time we left the mall, my knees were sore, my feet raw, my cheeks flushed from shame and exertion. Lara guided me to a quiet park nearby, where she finally allowed me to sit on a bench, heels pressed uncomfortably against the edge. "You survived," she said, brushing a strand of hair from my face. Her touch was light, almost maternal, yet it carried the weight of absolute authority. "You're learning control. You're learning submission." I wanted to hate her. I wanted to push back, to reclaim the boy I had been. But the mirror in my mind, the reflection of the girl I had become, reminded me that this transformation wasn't just about appearance. It was about power, control, and the fragile thrill of public exposure. As the sun dipped below the horizon, my phone buzzed with a message from Ethan. "Are you okay? I saw you. You looked amazing, but weird. Can we talk tomorrow?" My chest tightened. My secret world, Lara's control, my emerging identity, and now a boy who might see the truth. Everything was colliding. And I realized with a shiver that the next day could change everything. Alone with him, I almost forgot who I was almost. After school, I found myself sitting in a quiet corner of the small park, my heels tucked awkwardly beneath the bench, skirt draped carefully over my knees. Lara had given me strict instructions. Don't move too quickly, don't speak out of turn, don't show weakness. But as she walked ahead, chatting with a friend on the phone, I finally allowed myself a deep, shaky breath. Then, almost silently, Ethan appeared. He sat down across from me, backpack slipping from his shoulder. "Hey, you okay?" he asked, his voice gentle, free of judgment, free of mockery. I hesitated, fingers twisting the edge of my skirt. Could I tell him the truth? That I was the same boy he'd never known, now trapped in heels, skirt, and makeup? Or should I just smile, nod, and pretend I was just like every other girl he might meet? I'm fine, I whispered finally, voice trembling. Too high, too soft. Ethan didn't flinch. He simply smiled. "You know," he said carefully, leaning slightly closer. "You look different, but in a good way. I mean, pretty. Really pretty." The words hit me like a shockwave. My cheeks flamed, and I looked down, unable to meet his gaze. My heart pounded with a mix of shame, panic, and something else. Could I enjoy a compliment? Could I let myself feel seen without fear? Ethan laughed softly, noticing my hesitation. "Relax," he said. "I'm not judging. I just wanted to know if you were okay. You seemed nervous." I swallowed, the vulnerability clawing at me. Here was someone, a boy, who didn't know the full truth, and yet he offered kindness, a touch of understanding. My chest ached with a contradiction. Part of me wanted to run, to retreat into the safety of Lara's control, and part of me wanted to confide, to let someone see the fragile, terrified core of who I was. Lara appeared again, unexpected, silent. She had followed at a distance, ensuring control even in moments of potential freedom. Her gaze swept over us, sharp and calculating. "You're bonding," she murmured, almost to herself. "Good, but dangerous. Attachment is weakness. Remember that." My chest tightened. Lara had been my guide, my tormentor, my captor, and yet a part of me craved her approval. I hated her dominance, yet I felt comfort in her presence, in the structured control she imposed. And now, with Ethan sitting there, offering warmth and acceptance, the two worlds collided. For hours, we talked, carefully, cautiously. I laughed when he joked, smiled when he complimented, and for fleeting moments, I felt almost normal. But every glance in the reflective windows nearby reminded me I was still a girl in public, heels digging into my feet, skirts swaying with each breath, lips glossy, eyes rimmed with eyeliner. Each reflection tore at me. Who was I? The boy I had been? The girl I had become? Someone in between? And as the conversation with Ethan deepened, I realized that I wanted him to see me, all of me, but I couldn't let him. The evening ended with Laura stepping closer, her shadow falling across the bench. "Time to go," she said softly. Her hand rested on my shoulder, firm and possessive. "Tomorrow, we push further. He won't see what's coming. You need to be ready." I felt a shiver run down my spine. Lara's control was complete. Even in moments of private vulnerability, even while bonding with someone I trusted, she dictated the pace, the boundaries, the reality itself. And yet, I didn't entirely resent it. As Ethan waved goodbye, a flicker of confusion in his eyes, I caught myself staring in the mirror-like glass of a storefront. My reflection smiled faintly, almost teasing. The girl staring back at me was fragile, beautiful, exposed, and I wasn't sure if I hated her, loved her, or both. And as Lara's eyes met mine, sharp and knowing, I realized the truth. The next stage of this transformation wouldn't just be public, it would be irreversible. I thought I had control, but today I had none. The school auditorium was packed. Chairs lined up in perfect rows, the stage lights glaring like spotlights aimed directly at my chest. I gripped the edges of my skirt nervously, heels clicking sharply against the polished floor with every step. The murmurs of students and teachers alike felt like a physical weight pressing down on me. Laura walked beside me, calm, confident, and terrifyingly in control. Her hand brushed mine as she whispered, "You belong here now. Show them. Be perfect. Be her." I wanted to scream, to run, to rip off the skirt and shoes and escape into the shadows. But I couldn't. Not now. Not ever, at least not while she was there. It was a school talent showcase, a chance for students to demonstrate their skills. And somehow I was forced to model a fashion segment. Skirts, heels, makeup, and all. My stomach churned violently as I stepped onto the stage. Every whisper, every laugh, every camera phone pointed in my direction intensified the panic. I could feel eyes scanning every detail, the curves Laura had emphasized, the glossy lips, the delicate sway of my skirt. I tried to keep my back straight, chin up, heels aligned. My hands shook visibly. A group of boys from class pointed and whispered, laughing. "Is that really him?" One sneered. Others nudged each other, wide-eyed with disbelief. My face burned crimson. My heart thudded painfully. Every muscle screamed to flee, yet I took step after step across the stage. Then came the mirror moment. A large reflective panel on stage caught my image from head to toe. I froze mid-step. The girl staring back at me had wide, terrified eyes, soft lips, flawless makeup, and every curve accentuated perfectly. She was fragile. She was beautiful. And she was undeniably me. Tears stung my eyes. Every part of my old identity, the boy I had been, the confident, safe version of myself, had been replaced, erased under the relentless guidance of Laura. And the cruelest part? A small, forbidden part of me felt exhilarated. The audience clapped, some cheering politely, others whispering. I tried to smile, forcing the corners of my lips upward. My voice, high and unfamiliar, trembled as I responded to applause with a small, shaky wave. Every glance, every cheer, every whispered compliment cut into me, a mix of humiliation and dangerous thrill. Lara's hand rested lightly on my lower back, guiding me off stage. Her presence was suffocating, yet grounding. "You did well," she murmured. "This is just the beginning." Backstage, the emotional floodgates opened. I sank to the floor, heels dangling from my feet, skirt crumpled, tears flowing freely. Laura knelt beside me, calm, collected, almost maternal in her control. "You're safe," she said softly. "But remember, This is only the start of truly letting go. You can fight, but it's easier to submit. Easier to accept her. I wanted to fight. I wanted to scream. I wanted to claw back the boy I had been. But beneath the shame, the humiliation, and the terror, there was a spark, something I couldn't name, that whispered, maybe this is here meant to be now. That night, in front of the mirror, I couldn't recognize myself. The girl I saw had soft curves, high cheekbones, glossy lips, and wide, expressive eyes. My hair fell perfectly around my shoulders, waves sculpted by Lara's meticulous styling. I touched my face gently, tracing the contours as if confirming that it was real. And somewhere deep inside, I realized a painful truth. The boy I had been was gone, erased step by step, under heels, makeup, and Lara's relentless control. As I lay in bed, exhausted, my phone buzzed. A message from Ethan appeared. "I need to know, who are you really?" My heart pounded. Lara's words echoed in my mind. Attachment is weakness. But now, the boy I had been, the girl I had become, and the connection I felt with Ethan all collided. Tomorrow, I knew, would test me more than ever before, both in public and in my own mind. For the first time, I wanted to fight back, but the cost terrified me. The room was quiet except for the soft ticking of a clock. My heels were kicked off, skirt folded neatly beside the bed, makeup smudged slightly from the day's events. I stared at my reflection in the mirror, feeling the weight of every transformation, every humiliation, every command Lara had imposed on me. Part of me ached to reclaim control. Part of me trembled at the thought of defying her. And yet, for the first time, a dangerous spark ignited inside. I wanted to resist. It began with small acts. I adjusted my posture, subtly ignoring Lara's meticulous instructions on how my shoulders should slope. I experimented with my voice, speaking slightly lower when she wasn't looking. Even the way I walked, tiny shifts in my stride, became my rebellion. Lara noticed. "Careful," she said softly one evening, standing at the doorway. "I see the flicker of defiance. Don't mistake it for freedom. You belong to me." Her presence sent shivers down my spine, a mixture of fear, attraction, and a strange, forbidden thrill. I wanted to resist, and I also wanted her approval. The contradiction twisted inside me, a knot I couldn't untangle. The next day, Ethan's message haunted me. "I need to know, who are you really?" His curiosity, his concern, ignited a storm of emotions. Could I tell him the truth? Could I trust him with a fragile, fractured version of myself? The idea of exposing my secret terrified me, but it also tempted me. Late that night, I found myself on a video call with Ethan, my reflection visible in the background. I hesitated, hands twisting in my lap. "It's complicated," I whispered. My voice cracked, high-pitched, trembling. Ethan leaned closer, eyes filled with genuine concern. "You can tell me. I promise I won't judge." I swallowed, heart hammering. The temptation to reveal everything, the heels, the skirts, the makeup, Lara's control, was overwhelming. Yet a part of me feared the consequences. Lara's rules had been clear. Attachment, trust, and defiance were dangerous. And Ethan represented all three. That night, Lara entered silently, leaning against the doorway with her usual calm, calculating gaze. "You're getting close," she said, voice low. "Careful. You think you're rebelling, but you're simply learning your limits. And tomorrow, I'll push you further." Her words were both warning and promise. My chest tightened. I wanted to scream, to run, to embrace my boyhood self, but a smaller, darker part of me was curious. Curious about the thrill of submission, the dangerous allure of control, and the forbidden pull of Lara's presence. Private rebellion became a delicate dance. I tested boundaries subtly, hesitated in heels, whispered slightly differently, lingered on the phone with Ethan longer than allowed. Each act brought fear, shame, and an undeniable thrill. Every reflection in the mirror reminded me, the girl I had become was fragile, vulnerable, and tantalizingly exposed. And every whisper from Lara reminded me, Defiance comes at a cost. As I lay in bed, exhausted and trembling, Lara's last words echoed in my mind. Tomorrow, you will walk into the school like she is the only person you've ever been, and no one will see the boy you used to be. The thought made my stomach churn with fear, shame, and a forbidden excitement I couldn't fully name. The rebellion inside me had only just begun, but I realized with a shiver. The next stage would break every remaining thread of my old identity, or prove that a part of me could still fight back. Every eye in the room felt like it was piercing through my soul. The cafeteria buzzed with noise, laughter, chatter, trays clattering, and the hum of fluorescent lights. Today was different. Today, I was walking into the lion's den, fully dressed, fully transformed, and fully exposed. Skirts swaying perfectly, heels clicking sharply, makeup flawless, hair cascading in soft waves. Lara's hand rested on my lower back as we entered. Her calm presence was suffocating, grounding, and impossible to resist all at once. "You're hers now," she whispered. "Every gaze, every whisper, every comment, it's part of your lesson. Show them who you are." As I walked between the tables, whispers erupted instantly. Friends, classmates, teachers, even strangers, all eyes on me. "Is that really him?" a boy whispered. "No way," another muttered. "She looks amazing," a girl said softly. My heart pounded, my cheeks burned, and my legs shook in the unfamiliar heels. Every step was a battle against panic, humiliation, and the strange thrill that had been growing inside me for weeks. During lunch, a group of boys from my previous class approached. They had always treated me as one of them, but now, seeing me like this, their expressions mixed disbelief, amusement, and admiration. "Man," or "Wow, you look different," one stammered. I wanted to retreat, to shrink, to disappear. But Lara's fingers brushed mine, a subtle reminder that I had no escape. "You belong here," she murmured. "Own it." The mirror moment hit me again. A reflective surface near the drink station caught my image. The girl in the reflection had perfect posture, a soft but confident expression, glossy lips, and bright, expressive eyes. I barely recognized myself. She looked alive, fragile, and completely exposed. Tears threatened to spill, but I forced them back. My emotions were a storm: shame, embarrassment, fear, arousal, excitement, and an aching desire for approval all mixed together. Then the real test came. Lara orchestrated a friend introduction exercise, forcing me to interact with students who had known me as a boy. Each interaction was a trap. Their eyes searched for clues, their words loaded with double meanings. I stumbled over my words, voice trembling, hands fidgeting with the hem of my skirt. One boy leaned closer, whispering, "You will look so different." "Beautiful, actually. I mean, wow." I felt my cheeks flame hotter than ever. Humiliation and a perverse thrill surged together. I hated it, yet a small part of me wanted more. Wanted recognition, wanted to be seen, wanted to be admired. Even Ethan appeared, arriving unexpectedly to pick up his younger sister. His eyes widened in disbelief, searching for familiar features beneath the transformation. I froze, every muscle tensing. Lara's hand on my shoulder was firm, guiding me, controlling me. "Stay composed," she whispered. "He sees only what I allow." I forced a polite smile, heart hammering, as Ethan's gaze lingered. I wanted to tell him everything, to let him see the truth, but Lara's control was absolute. I realized then that my identity was no longer mine alone to reveal. The final blow came during a small class presentation. Standing in front of peers, heels clicking, skirts swaying, voice high and melodic, I delivered my lines with trembling precision. Every glance from classmates, every whisper, every suppressed laugh or compliment was like a needle piercing my self-esteem. By the end, I was shaking, exhausted, and emotionally raw. Yet Lara's calm hand on my back reminded me I had survived. I had been fully exposed, and I had not broken completely. Later that night, staring at myself in the mirror, I noticed subtle changes in my expression. The girl staring back, at me was no longer fragile. There was confidence, small, dangerous, undeniable. And a message from Ethan appeared. "We need to talk. I think I understand, maybe." My chest tightened. Lara's whisper echoed in my mind. "Attachment is weakness. Do not falter." Tomorrow promised even deeper tests. And I realized with a shiver that the next stage would challenge not just my body, but my heart and soul. I didn't even notice the moment I stopped fighting. The night after the cafeteria humiliation was suffocatingly quiet. Rain tapped against the window as I sat at my vanity, Lara's vanity, technically, because she'd filled it with makeup, jewelry, hairbrushes, bottles of perfume. My reflection stared back at me under the soft glow of the lamp. The face was still mine, but softer, smoother, lined with mascara and pale blush. I touched my lips, tracing the gloss she'd applied that morning. For a heartbeat, I didn't feel the instinct to wipe it away. For a heartbeat, I didn't see a boy trapped in makeup. I saw a girl, and it terrified me. Lara entered quietly, her heels muted on the carpet. She didn't speak at first, just placed a folded dress on the chair beside me. A pastel satin slip with thin straps, delicate lace along the neckline. It was the kind of dress that whispered fragility, vulnerability, beauty. "Put it on," she said softly. "Tonight you'll learn something new." I wanted to resist. I opened my mouth to say no, but nothing came out. My fingers reached for the fabric on their own, trembling slightly as I lifted it. Lara didn't force me. She simply waited. And I realized, horrified, that I was following her orders without hesitation. In the mirror, the dress clung to me, molding my body into soft lines and curves. My hair, brushed out and slightly damp, framed my face perfectly. Lara stepped behind me, her hands resting on my shoulders, her eyes meeting mine in the reflection. "You're starting to see her," she whispered. "That's good. Stop fighting her. She's stronger than you think." I swallowed hard. My throat burned. "I'm not her," I whispered back, voice breaking. Lara's smile was small, patient, and just a little cruel. "Not yet." The lesson that night wasn't about clothes. It was about movement. She made me walk across the room barefoot, practicing the sway of my hips. She corrected my posture with gentle hands, adjusted my arms, my chin, my breathing. "Again," she said over and over. "Again." At first, humiliation seared through me. But something shifted as the hours went on. My steps became smoother. My body started to memorize the rhythm. My reflection changed, not just in appearance, but in presence. I saw the beginnings of a graceful girl where a clumsy boy had stood. And deep inside, something cracked. Later, sitting on the bed, hair slightly mussed from hours of drills, I stared at my painted nails. A strange calm had settled over me. No more trembling. No more frantic resistance. Just a quiet, heavy acceptance. Lara sat beside me, close enough for our knees to touch. "You're doing well," she said softly. "She's coming alive. Can you feel her?" I wanted to scream no. I wanted to push her away. But instead, I nodded, tears slipping down my cheeks silently. Lara reached up, wiping one away with her thumb, her touch almost tender. I stood again, facing the mirror. The girl staring back didn't look fragile anymore. She looked tired, yes, but also poised. Beautiful, even. My breath caught as a dangerous thought flickered through my mind. Would it be easier to just be her? Lara's voice was a murmur behind me. "The boy is fading. Let him go. It doesn't have to hurt." My chest ached. My hands trembled. "But who am I then?" I whispered. "You're becoming who you were always meant to be," she said. That night, as I lay in bed, Ethan's message came again. "I'm outside. Please. I just want to talk." My heart stopped. Lara's voice echoed from the hallway. "Do not open that door." Torn between two worlds, the control Lara wielded and the fragile lifeline Ethan offered, I sat frozen, staring at the door handle. The dress clung to me, the makeup still fresh. The girl in the mirror stared back, waiting to see what choice I'd make. Every instinct screamed to open it, but every fiber of me feared what would happen if I did. The knock on the door was soft but insistent. My heart raced so violently I thought it might burst. Ethan's name flashed across my mind. He's here. He knows something's different. He might understand. But then Lara's voice, calm and precise, sliced through the tension. Do not open it.
You belong to me tonight.
Every choice belongs to her. I froze, hand hovering over the door handle. My reflection in the full-length mirror across the room caught my eye. The girl in the reflection was poised, perfectly made up, soft curves accentuated by the pastel dress. She looked beautiful, vulnerable,
Exposed.
and utterly mine to control. The knocking grew slightly louder. A muffled, concerned voice followed. Please, I just want to talk. I need to know you're okay. It was Ethan. My chest constricted. The boy I had been. No, the girl I was becoming, trembled with conflicting emotions.
Shame.
Desire.
Fear.
Longing. I wanted to open the door. I wanted to reach for him, to explain everything, to let him see the truth behind the skirts and heels and makeup. And yet, every instinct screamed that Lara's control was absolute. One misstep, one small act of rebellion, and it would all come crashing down. Lara stepped silently into view behind me, her presence like a shadow pressing against my back. Her fingers brushed the edge of my shoulder lightly. You feel it, she whispered. The pull of the old life. The boy who wants freedom. Don't. She is stronger. She is beautiful. Let her decide. I swallowed hard. My voice caught in my throat. I can't. You can, Lara corrected softly. But tonight you won't. My fingers tightened around the doorknob, trembling. The knocking persisted, each one a heartbeat of temptation, a heartbeat of rebellion. I closed my eyes, imagining Ethan's concerned eyes, his gentle smile, his voice calm and understanding. And then I imagined Lara, standing silently, authoritative, calm, unwavering. The contrast cut me in two. My body leaned slightly toward the door, heart racing. My mind screamed to obey, to stay, to submit. My soul ached to reach out. A sudden knock louder than before made me jump. My reflection in the mirror seemed to shift, her eyes pleading, daring, challenging. Could I be the girl entirely? Could I give in? Could I risk the boy I had left behind? Ethan's voice called again, almost a whisper now. Please, just one moment. Let me in. I won't hurt you. I could feel every emotion tearing through me, fear, shame, lust, love, desire, submission, all tangled into a storm that left me shaking. I wanted to obey Lara, wanted to remain perfect, wanted to be her completely. But another part of me wanted something else. Lara's hand moved to rest lightly on the doorknob itself. If you open it, she said softly, everything changes. You think you'll go back to him, but you'll lose everything you've learned. Decide. The decision felt impossible. My hands trembled. My breath caught. And then, in a heartbeat, my reflection smiled faintly, teasing, daring, almost wickedly inviting. I stepped back, my heels clicking softly on the carpet. The door remained closed. Ethan's muffled voice outside pleaded once more, fading slightly. I sank onto the bed, head in my hands, sobbing silently. Part of me hated myself. Part of me craved the surrender, the obedience, the thrill of becoming completely hers. Lara leaned down, brushing wet tears from my cheeks. Good, she whispered. You are hers tonight. Tomorrow we take it further. Public exposure. Absolute control. No excuses. I realized, trembling, that the door I didn't open wasn't just a door to Ethan. It was a door to the boy I used to be. And that door was closing, slowly but inevitably. I didn't even have to pretend anymore, she was moving through me. The morning air was cold but bright. Outside the window, students moved in clusters across the courtyard. I sat at the edge of the bed, dress laid out, shoes lined neatly in front of me, makeup already waiting. The pastel satin slip from last night was gone. In its place, Lara had chosen a full outfit for school, a fitted blouse, pleated skirt, soft stockings, and the tallest pair of black heels she'd yet given me. "Today," she said calmly as she zipped a cosmetics bag, "you're not walking into school as a boy disguised as a girl. You're walking in as her. You won't correct them. You won't flinch. You won't hide. You will be her. In public." Her words were a sentence, a challenge, a promise. I stared at the clothes, at the heels, at my trembling hands. I can't. "You already have," Lara said quietly, almost tender. "It's only your mind that hasn't caught up." Underscore 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 underscore. She dressed me slowly, methodically. Each piece of clothing another lock on the door, behind me. The blouse smoothed over my torso, the skirt brushed my thighs, the stockings whispered against my legs. The heels made my calves ache, but also forced my hips to sway in a way that felt eerily natural now. Lara did my makeup with even greater precision than before, her hands steady, her gaze unblinking. "Close your eyes," she murmured. "Don't think. Just breathe." When she was finished, she guided me to the mirror. I gasped. The girl staring back at me wasn't fragile, wasn't stumbling. She was radiant. Perfect posture, soft waves of hair framing her face, lips a glossy rose. There was no trace of the boy I had been. If someone had walked in, they would have seen a beautiful young woman ready for a day at school. My stomach knotted, my chest burned, my eyes blurred with tears. That's not me." Lara's reflection smiled faintly behind me. "It's exactly you." The walk to school was surreal. Every click of my heels on the pavement echoed like a gunshot. Students stared openly. Some whispered, some pointed, some even smiled. I kept my chin up, my stride smooth. Inside, the whispers grew louder. "She's new, right? Who is she? Wait, is that?" I forced a small smile, head high, trying to ignore the burning shame crawling up my neck. And yet, somewhere under the shame, a strange pulse of power. People were looking at me, seeing me, reacting to me, not as a boy but as a girl. Lara's lesson for the day was brutal. She had arranged for me to stand in front of the class to give a reading. No jacket, no escape, just me in my skirt, heels, and soft voice. As I read, I could feel the room's attention fix on me. Some boys were wide-eyed. Some girls smiled faintly, maybe sympathetically. I stumbled once, voice trembling, but kept going. My heart pounded, yet I didn't break. When I finished, there was a strange silence. Then someone clapped softly. Others joined. And just like that, the old me felt even further away. Later, in the bathroom, I caught my reflection again. This time I didn't cry. This time, my fingers lightly touched my hair, adjusting a stray curl. My lips curved into a faint smile, without thinking. For the first time, I realized I wasn't pretending anymore. The girl in the mirror wasn't a costume. She was starting to feel like me. When I left the bathroom, Ethan was waiting in the hallway. His eyes locked onto mine, 1,000 questions in them. But instead of asking, he simply whispered, "You're beautiful." My breath caught. My knees nearly buckled in the heels. Lara's warning echoed in my head, but Ethan's gaze pulled at something deep inside me. The boy I'd been, the girl I was becoming, everything in between. And for the first time, I didn't know which one of us would answer him. Everything I had fought for, everything I had known, came down to a single heartbeat. The hallway felt impossibly long. Every step in my heels echoed sharply against the tile floor, like a countdown to something inevitable. Ethan stood at the far end, his eyes searching mine, conflicted, concerned, and gentle. Lara's presence was just behind me, a shadow I could not escape. She whispered softly, almost a lullaby and a command at once. "Tonight, you decide. Do you fight? Or do you become her completely?" Ethan stepped closer. I don't know what's happened to you," he said, voice trembling slightly. But I can see you, all of you, and I want to help. I want you back if you want to be back. I froze. My chest tightened, fingers gripping the edge of my skirt. Could I go back? Could I undo the weeks of heels, skirts, makeup, whispered commands, and mirrored lessons? The boy I had been seemed so far away, like a fading dream. And then I felt her, the girl inside me, fragile yet resilient, trembling yet undeniable. She looked back at me from the mirror of the hallway windows, waiting. Ethan, my voice barely rose above a whisper. My lips trembled. I don't know if I can. Lara's hand rested lightly on my shoulder, a reminder, a warning. The boy is gone, she said softly. There is only her, and she is ready. I shook my head, conflicting emotions tearing through me.
Fear. Shame.
Desire. Longing. Curiosity. Something darker and more thrilling. The part of me that had started to crave the transformation. Ethan reached out, tentatively. I don't care who you are now. I care about you. Let me help. My heart thudded violently. I wanted to run into his arms, wanted to escape, wanted to be the boy again. But the girl I had become, she wasn't entirely willing to leave. A dangerous, thrilling part of me wanted to stay, to be seen, to be admired, to finally surrender completely. The heels dug painfully into my calves. The skirt swayed perfectly with each step. My reflection was beautiful, irresistible, vulnerable, and hers. I took a shuddering breath. The decision was mine, but I felt her whispering in my mind, "This is who you are now. You can fight, but why would you?" I looked at Ethan, at Lara, at myself. And then, slowly, deliberately, I allowed the tension to fall away. My hands relaxed at my sides. My chest rose with steady breaths. I smiled faintly, softly, almost shyly. I said, voice higher, smoother, certain in a way I hadn't been before. I think I'm ready. Ethan's eyes widened. Lara's smile was small, satisfied, victorious. It wasn't a scream of joy, nor a cry of despair. It was quiet, gentle, acceptance. I stepped fully into the heels, swayed naturally in the skirt, adjusted the curls of my hair, and allowed the girl in the mirror to take the lead. She was me. She had been growing all along. And now, she was finally free. Lara's hand brushed lightly against my cheek. Good, she murmured. You are hers fully. And she is perfect. Ethan's hand touched mine gently. So, this is you now. I nodded, heart pounding, cheeks warm. Yes, I whispered. But I'm still me. Just different. The tension between freedom and surrender melted. I realized I had not lost everything. I had become something new, something compelling, something entirely my own, even if it wasn't the boy I had been. Alone later, I stood in the full-length mirror. The reflection was flawless. Beautiful, feminine, vulnerable,
Strong.
Every inch of me spoke of transformation, of surrender, of acceptance. And yet I felt alive. I allowed myself a small smile. The past had faded, the boy had vanished, but the girl, I was finally here. The days that followed were different. I walked through the world fully as her, heels clicking, skirts swaying, makeup perfect, voice soft and melodic. Some people recognized me from before, some didn't. Every step was a reminder of who I had become and what I had surrendered to. Ethan remained close, supportive, patient. He didn't judge. He didn't push. And Lara remained the silent, guiding presence behind the transformation. But now, I had embraced her guidance fully. I had been forced into heels, skirts, and makeup. I had been humiliated, controlled, reshaped. And yet, in the end, I had found something unexpected: power in vulnerability, freedom in surrender, and beauty in becoming someone completely new.